Texas is the second largest state in the U.S. in terms of both area and population. Its landmass is surpassed only by Alaska, and its population is second only to California. Once an independent republic, this history gave rise to its nickname, the Lone Star State. You can see the Lone Star proudly displayed on the state flag and even on the logos of Texas-based sports teams like the Houston Astros, Texas Rangers, Dallas Cowboys, and Dallas Mavericks, symbolizing the spirit of Texas. Due to this history of independence, Texans demonstrate remarkable unity when it comes to defending their rights. They have consistently shown the ability to come together and stand firm against external threats. For example, as we previously mentioned, Chinese companies and capital have been purchasing vast amounts of U.S. farmland in recent years, attempting to control key production factors and establish footholds on American soil. In response, Texas lawmakers have remained highly vigilant about